over in Europe, primarily in Germany, and the German manufacturer was creating these wonderful artificial plants for Hollywood use on movie sets because they needed consistency. Plant always had to be the same size for a television show. And with this, people started realizing that, you know, if you've got a plant that's absolutely no maintenance whatsoever, can't die, you don't have to water it, it looks great all year round, doesn't that make sense? And the answer is yes. So these are their faux cedar trees. The company is called National Tree. How are you doing back there, bud?
Dan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
This is my buddy Nick Antolik. We have two different sizes. We've got a 53-inch and a 65-inch. When my wife and I moved into our home about 16 years ago, we had to do a lot of landscaping.
Yeah.
And almost all the landscaping that we did back then is now overgrown to the point where we've got to start over.
Dan, if you're trying to save on price, you buy the plants a little bit low and wait for them to grow the right size. You hope and you pray that you help them survive till they get to that right size, but then what do? They keep growing, right? Enter these trees, which are always going to stay perfect looking at that same perfect size.
And I've got to tell you, they fool the eye like you wouldn't believe. Nobody does faux trees like this. These are rated for outdoor or indoor use, with the idea that you could plant these in the ground and let them be there for years and years to come. The detail of these branches is just like a cedar tree.
Dan, isn't it incredible? And you mentioned, like today in studio, so many people have been coming up to me saying, Nick, you're selling real trees. And I said, well, yes.
Well, they're real.
But they're artificial. And they're better than real trees because easy care, deer resistant, all those things you mentioned. Not only is it real looking, but it's real feeling. People will come up and touch these plants and say, are these real?
Yeah.
And that's how great
do you realize the hedge trimmers that I sell that you have to maintain real trees with cost as much money as buying the trees that don't have any maintenance whatsoever?
That doesn't surprise me.
So imagine a couple of these by the front door or planted in the yard or planted in the garden. If you're someone who has always struggled with keeping landscaping looking good, if you're fortunate enough to have that second home where you don't get to that place every weekend or every month, here's a way of making sure that place always looks its best. And today I've got it on Easy Pay. These are actually put together and assembled by hand.
They are, Dan.
So I thought the price was actually very reasonable.
Absolutely.
It's comparable to what you would pay for the living tree at a garden center, but there's no maintenance to this ever.
Isn't that great, Dan? And I want to show you here. Here are those two sizes. So about 4.5 feet and about 5.5 feet. This is how they're going to come to you out of the box. And the beautiful thing is, number one, this is a beautiful looking, almost Italian cedar growing in those large columns. So if you have a smaller space, this really skinny design works great. You notice as we get in close here, the different colors. So all of these tips just aren't that real feel, but you'll notice that they each have like new growth in there. So the best part is that all of these are completely malleable. So I'm going to be able to shape this exactly like I want. So this skinnier version that you're seeing here is how you're going to get it. Opens up to this beautiful tree beside me here. And this gives you the ability to, in this case, they come with those weighted bases like you see here. This is going to always stand tall, not blow over in the wind, or you can plant that directly in the ground like I have here. So think about those bare spots in your yard as we move into this winter season. This is going to not only give you that beautiful green all year round, but it's going to fool your neighbors and yourself.
Now, if you get right up against it, you realize that yes, it's a wrapped tree in the center core, but you've got to be within inches to notice that.
That's right.
This is also the type of tree that in nature, when it starts to die off, it dies off from the inside out.
That's right.
And you get this brown that just looks terrible.
And that happens with years and years of pruning as well. Every year that you're cutting that tree back, you're getting more brown and less of this beautiful green. So if you think about this, maybe it's that hot spot by the macadam in your driveway, right? Which is reflecting the sun like we've had these dry spells.
For a lot of people, they frame the entranceway of their home with this plant. Landscapers, home builders, tend to rely on this plant as a go-to.
Absolutely.
And the problem is they grow like weeds. They look fantastic for maybe a year or two, And then you wind up with plants that are 15 feet tall and you have to cut them down.
Yep.
And they're very messy trees normally.
We've all been there. And Dan, if it wasn't
Indoors
for how
looks good, too.
great these looked, you wouldn't be able to get away with this. But there you're seeing it. What
Oh,
a
you're using it as
wonderful way
coverage.
to use that coverage. Oftentimes cedars will give you that and provide the coverage, but now you're able to instantly transform your entryway. How about maybe, like you mentioned, inside? Oh, I love that shot with the deer in the background there.
Yep.
Stays true, not only in the snow, but also UV protected, so it keeps that color. But how about places inside your home, maybe a foyer or a basement or a powder room that doesn't get that natural light? Have you tried a large indoor houseplant that lasts for a couple months and then withers off? This is going to fill that space, give you that beautiful, consistent look year round. How about, by the way, so National Tree Company started off making, like you mentioned, beautiful faux Christmas trees for movie sets, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason we'll walk around this, why QVC uses them on set. But how about those artificial Christmas trees? You spend so much money for them and you use them, what, about a month a year?
Exactly. Yep.
This you could decorate for the holidays
And
but
leave
keep
outside.
and keep outside.
Well, let's
all
go
year
for a
round.
little
Sure,
walk, because I
yeah.
got to tell you, people don't realize it. They've seen National Tree on our set time and time and time again. I hate to break the illusion of TV, but I am actually much taller. No, that's not true. We're inside. This is a sound stage, one of the largest sound stages in America. And if you think of it, it's like a giant warehouse. The inside of this building hasn't seen sun in decades.
But the plants look
in
beautiful,
our outdoor
right?
set, the plants that we choose to use came from National Tree. And they just happen to be the exact same plants that Nick is making available to us right now.
That's exactly right, Dan. And if we take a walk back here, you mentioned earlier, let's talk entryway. The entryway of your home, you're going to see, that beautiful place where you can instantly transform that entry from the beginning to the end. So here you're seeing a plant flanking on either side of the house there, and that's instantly going to change that look.
Now, also consider that there are just places where plants don't do well.
Yep.
Whether it be direct beating sunlight, if you live in Georgia, Alabama, parts of Texas, etc., or up here in the north where it gets cold enough where sometimes plants just don't survive. And the whole adage of interior design lately has been predicated on bringing the outdoors indoors.
Sure.
Not just in color, but in actual, almost landscaping.
Yep.
So you can bring these into your home.
And now you're able to do that because, before you may try that new plant, but now you have that beautiful, consistent look that you're looking for. Now, if you have a potter, we talked about earlier, this is a weighted base, and that's going to be on both sizes, so this is what it comes with. But look at how instantly you take an old potted potter there, I drop that in, it completely changes the look, right?
Yep.
So now you're able to take this and really spruce up areas of your home that you might not be able to before. So if we walk back here, Dan, this is a front door, and we see so many customers are getting these in sets because instantly you're able to change that. Now, look at this space that we have. Now, this guy might be getting a little bit of sunlight because we over here. On this side, you're not getting that because you have the overhang. So this is a way to keep these plants beautifully consistent year after year. When people walk up to your front door, they're going to say, beautiful plants, not are they real?
No,
because they look that great.
I'm telling you, you've got to get so close to these to realize that they're a faux design. And it's something that people by nature would never think to do because it is so lifelike.
That's right.
This company has been fooling people's eyes for a very long time on television sets and movie sets across Hollywood and across the world.
And then
they do a great job.
And we took that and we brought them to our homes. And what did people learn? They realized, well, first off, they're getting that beautiful look. It's keeping that consistent size. These are deer resistant. They're going to be able to stay out in places where other plants, like this hot heat wave that we've had that have killed a lot of plants, these are looking beautiful. If you have going into the fall season, you're able to put this, instantly fill that space, not to mention all of the indoor applications you can get decorating for the holidays and also year round.
This year has been a tougher year for my wife and I on our property with with trees in particular.
Well,
and
so,
holly bushes.
So much rain.
And it was so hot.
And then so much heat.
I agree.
And,
Yep.
and you would see the burn on there.
Uh-huh.
And like you mentioned, year after year, if you're cutting back and pruning these beautiful evergreens, you're going to see more and more brown instead of that beautiful green that you're seeing there. And I love that it shows it both ways. Because this is malleable, you can move these, you can really help fit the space. Beside you there is that beautiful kind of more column design.
Yeah, and you've got your choice, but there's just no maintenance.
Yep.
And to me, that's the beautiful part of it. We've all got enough to worry about, whether you've got, you know, a small home, a big home, what have you. This is a way of being able to have the one thing that you never have to concern yourself with. And they'll look like this, fresh, green, for decades and decades to come. That's well done. That is really a neat concept.
And Dan, here you're seeing the examples, indoors or outdoors, front door or inside the house. This is that simple solution to give you that decorating style that you want. There you're seeing it as a little blockage and coverage.
I hadn't thought about using it almost like a screen.
Isn't that great? And think about it. That's
a good idea.
Typically where you would plant the plants. And let's remember, if you've tried this before, you put the plants on the ground, you got to really take care of them and pray that they're going to get to that right size and last a couple seasons.
But they never do.
And then they keep growing.
Plants are like children.
That's right.
They never stop.
They
just
keep
never
growing.
Stop. I thank you for being here, my friend.
Thanks, Dan.
You and I are going to talk a little bit later on in the show. He's got some really cool lighting problem solution ideas. And that'll be coming our way a little bit later on. You're watching At Home with Dan. Welcome to QVC2. If you've got a pet, a cat or a dog, I want you to stick with us, because first of all, you're going to meet Nikki, who is the cutest animal you ever saw. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to groom